Sylvester Stallone wakes up on a bench at Port Authority bus terminal at 2 a.m. when someone taps his shoulder and whispers, "Don't move, I got your back." He opens his eyes. A homeless man is sitting on the ground next to the bench, awake, watching. What happens over the next 6 hours doesn't just create an unlikely alliance between two strangers surviving the same nightmare. It becomes the inspiration for the most iconic friendship in cinema history, Rocky and Paulie. This is the story of how a night at Port Authority became a character, how I got your back, brother became a philosophy, and how a man Stallone never saw again saved his life twice, once that night, and once 2 years later, when he needed a voice that believed in him, even when he didn't believe in himself. New York City, January 1973, Friday night, 11:34 p.m., Port Authority bus, terminal, 42nd Street and 8th Avenue, the biggest, busiest, most chaotic transportation hub in Manhattan. During the day, it's overwhelmed with commuters, tourists, buses arriving and departing, announcements echoing, people rushing. But at night, Port Authority transforms, becomes something else, becomes shelter for people who have nowhere else to go. The homeless, the addicted, the desperate, the invisible population of New York that the city pretends doesn't exist until they're impossible to ignore. Sylvester Stallone is one of them tonight. Not technically homeless. He has an apartment, technically a room in Hell's Kitchen, but he's 3 months behind on rent. Landlord changed the locks 2 days ago. Everything Stallone owns is in a duffel bag he's been carrying for 48 hours. Notebooks, the typewriter he couldn't bring himself to pawn, a few photographs, the accumulated possessions of someone whose life fits in one bag. He's 26 years old, should be somewhere, should have something, should be past this, but he's not. He's at Port Authority at midnight with $18 in his pocket and no plan except survive until morning, then figure out the next step, then survive that, day by day, hour by hour. That's how you live when you're this close to the edge. You don't think about tomorrow, you think about the next 4 hours. Port Authority at night is dangerous. Everyone knows it. Muggers, addicts looking for money, people who see someone sleeping as an opportunity. Violence is casual here, expected, part of the ecosystem. You learn to sleep light, keep your bag close. Don't trust anyone. Don't make eye contact. Survive. That's the only rule. Stallone finds a bench on the lower level, near the Greyhound gates, not the main waiting area. Too exposed, too many security guards who'll kick you out for loitering. The lower level is darker, less patrolled, more dangerous, but also more likely they'll let you stay if you're quiet. The bench is wood, uncomfortable, designed that way on purpose so people don't sleep on it. But Stallone is exhausted, hasn't slept in a real bed in 2 days, hasn't eaten much, can't afford to eat, saving the $18 for emergencies. This counts as emergency, but not emergency enough yet. He lies down on the bench, uses his duffel bag as a pillow. His jacket is thin. January cold seeps through the terminal. The heating barely works down here. He can see his breath, but it's warmer than outside. That's the calculation. Warmer than outside means this is the best option. Stallone closes his eyes. Doesn't expect to really sleep, just rest. Just close his eyes for a few hours. Then morning comes. Then he figures out the next move. He drifts, not asleep exactly. That in-between state where you're aware of your surroundings, but detached, aware of the footsteps, the distant voices, the announcements over the PA system that echo through empty halls, the fluorescent lights humming overhead, All of it becomes white noise, background static to the exhaustion. Then someone taps his shoulder, light tap, deliberate, trying to wake him without startling him too much. Stallone's eyes snap open, adrenaline spike. This is it. This is the mugging, the violence, the thing everyone warned him about. He sits up fast, ready to fight, ready to protect the duffel bag. It's all he has. If someone takes it, he has nothing. But the person standing next to the bench isn't threatening. He's sitting on the ground, back against the wall, looking at Stallone with eyes that are tired, but not hostile. The man is older, maybe 50, maybe 60. Hard to tell. Life on the street ages people, makes them look ancient when they're not. The man is black, gray beard, wearing layers like Stallone, old army jacket over 2 sweatshirts, over a flannel shirt, boots that are falling apart, knit cap pulled low, gloves with holes in the fingers. The man raises his hands, universal gesture of, "I'm not a threat." Then he speaks. Voice is rough, smoker's voice, but calm, not aggressive. The man says, "Easy, brother, easy. I'm not here to take nothing." Stallone's heart is still racing. He keeps his hand on the duffel bag, doesn't relax yet. Stallone says, "Then what do you want?" The man gestures to the bench, to the terminal, to the whole situation. The man says, "Just want to say, you shouldn't sleep here alone. Not safe. I seen 3 guys watching you. They waiting for you to really sleep. Then they gonna roll you, take your bag, maybe hurt you, if you fight." Stallone looks around, doesn't see anyone, but that doesn't mean they're not there. In Port Authority at night, threats hide in shadows, wait for opportunity. Stallone says, "Why are you telling me this?" The man shrugs. "Because I been where you at, and nobody told me. Got rolled my first night, lost everything. Don't want that happening to you." Stallone studies the man, trying to figure out the angle, trying to see the con, because there's always a con, always someone trying to take advantage. But the man just sits there, calm, patient, not asking for anything. Stallone says, "So what am I supposed to do?" The man says, "I'll watch your stuff. While you sleep, stay awake. Make sure nobody messes with you." Stallone almost laughs. "Why would you do that?" The man says, "Because I can't sleep anyway. Insomnia. Been up 3 days. Might as well do something useful." Stallone says, "You don't know me." The man says, "Don't need to. You're here. I'm here. That's enough." Stallone wants to say no, wants to tell this stranger he doesn't need help. But that would be a lie. He does need help. Desperately needs help. And this man is offering it for free. No strings, no angle, just one human, helping another survive the night. Stallone says, "What's your name?" The man says, "Joe." Stallone says, "I'm Sly." Joe nods. "Okay, Sly. You sleep. I'll watch." Stallone hesitates. This could still be a setup. Could be Joe waiting for Stallone to trust him, then robbing him. Could be anything. But Stallone is exhausted, and something in Joe's eyes feels genuine, feels honest, feels like a man who understands what it's like to have nothing and needs someone to watch your back. Stallone lies back down, keeps the duffel bag under his head, keeps one hand on it, but he closes his eyes, lets himself drift, and Joe sits there, on the ground, back against the wall, watching. Hours pass. Stallone drifts in and out. Every time he opens his eyes, Joe is there, awake, alert, watching the terminal, watching the people walking past, watching for threats. At one point, Stallone wakes up fully, sees Joe standing, facing three men who are approaching the bench. Joe doesn't yell, doesn't threaten, just stands there, makes himself visible, makes it clear that Stallone isn't alone. The three men look at Joe, look at Stallone, then walk away, find easier prey somewhere else. Joe sits back down, doesn't mention it, doesn't ask for thanks, just goes back to watching. Stallone says quietly, "Thank you." Joe says, "Don't mention it." Stallone says, "Why are you doing this?" Joe is quiet for a moment, then says, "When I first got to the streets, I thought I was gonna die, thought I'd be dead in a month, but then someone helped me. Old guy named Marcus, watched my back for a week, didn't ask for nothing, just did it, told me, when you get back on your feet, do the same for someone else." Then he disappeared, never saw him again, so I'm doing what Marcus did, passing it on. Stallone asks, "Did you get back on your feet?" Joe laughs, bitter laugh. "Not yet, but I'm still trying, still here. That counts for something." Stallone says, "Yeah, it does." They sit in silence, Joe watching, Stallone resting. The terminal around them continues. Buses coming and going, people arriving and departing, announcements, fluorescent lights, the machinery of transit, never stopping. Around 4 a.m., Joe starts talking, doesn't look at Stallone, just talks, like he needs to say these things out loud. Joe says, "I used to have a family, wife, 2 kids, had a job, construction, good job, union, made decent money, had an apartment in the Bronx, nothing fancy, but it was ours. Then I got hurt, back injury, couldn't work, lost the job, lost the insurance, started drinking, lost the family, lost the apartment, lost everything. That was 8 years ago. Been on the streets since, trying to get clean, trying to get back. But it's hard, man. It's so hard. Every time I think I'm getting somewhere, something knocks me back down." Joe looks at Stallone. "What about you? What's your story?" Stallone doesn't know why he answers honestly. Doesn't know this man, but something about the night, the vulnerability, the honesty Joe just offered, makes Stallone want to give honesty back. Stallone says, "I'm an actor, trying to be, but nobody's hiring. Can't book a job. Got evicted, been sleeping wherever I can, trying to figure out the next move." Joe says, "Actor, that's tough. Everybody wants to be an actor in this city. What makes you different?" Stallone says, "I don't know if I am different. Maybe I'm just another guy chasing something impossible." Joe says, "Or maybe you're the one who actually makes it." Stallone says, "You believe that?" Joe says, "I believe you're still trying. Most people quit. You're here. You're still fighting. That means something." Stallone says, "Fighting for what? To sleep on benches? To be broke? To fail?" Joe says, "Fighting to not give up. That's what, you know how many people I've seen out here, who gave up, who stopped trying, who just let the street take them. Hundreds, maybe thousands. But you got a duffel bag with a typewriter in it. You're sleeping on a bench, but you're still carrying the thing you need to chase your dream. That's not giving up. That's refusing to quit." Stallone doesn't say anything. Didn't realize Joe noticed the typewriter. Joe continues, "You gonna make it, Sly. I don't know when, don't know how, but you gonna make it. Because you got the thing most people don't got. You got the refusal to let this be the end. And that's what separates people who survive from people who don't." The words hit Stallone harder than expected. This homeless man, this stranger, this person society has written off. He's speaking truth that Stallone needed to hear, speaking belief that Stallone doesn't have, in himself. By 6 a.m., the terminal starts waking up. Early commuters arriving, security guards changing shifts, the danger of the night receding. Stallone sits up, stretches. His back aches from the bench, but he's alive. He's safe. His duffel bag is still there, all because of Joe. Stallone says, "I gotta go. Find somewhere to clean up. Figure out the day." Joe nods. "Yeah, me too." Stallone reaches into his pocket, pulls out the $18, offers it to Joe. Stallone says, "Take this. You saved me tonight. You deserve it." Joe shakes his head. "Nah, man, keep it. You need it more than I do." Stallone says, "You sure?" Joe says, "Positive. Just when you make it. When you're the actor you're trying to be. Remember this night. Remember Joe, and help somebody else. Pass it on, like Marcus did for me." Stallone nods. "I will. I promise." They shake hands. Joe's grip is strong, firm, the handshake of a man who still has dignity, even when everything else is gone. Joe says, "I got your back, brother. Remember that?" Stallone says, "I got yours too." They separate. Joe walks one direction. Stallone walks another, into the morning, into the city, into whatever comes next. Stallone never sees Joe again, tries to find him a few times over the next weeks, goes back to Port Authority, looks around, asks other homeless people if they know Joe. Nobody does, or nobody's talking. Joe disappeared back into the city, back into the invisible population, back into the life that swallows people whole. But Stallone doesn't forget him, doesn't forget the night, doesn't forget the words, "I got your back, brother." 2 years later, Stallone is writing Rocky. The script is pouring out. The character of Rocky is clear. The underdog boxer, the man who gets one shot, but Rocky needs someone, needs a friend, needs someone in his corner who believes in him when nobody else does. Stallone thinks about Joe, about Port Authority, about the man who watched his back for 6 hours, asking for nothing in return, about the loyalty, the honesty, the refusal to abandon someone just because it's easier. And Paulie is born, Rocky's brother-in-law, rough around the edges, not sophisticated, not educated, but loyal, fiercely loyal. The guy who's got Rocky's back, even when Rocky is failing, even when Rocky is nothing, even when believing in Rocky seems stupid. Paulie is Joe, not literally, not physically, but spiritually. Paulie is the voice that says, "I got your back when backs are all you have to offer each other." Paulie is the man who shows up, who stays, who doesn't abandon, even when abandoning would be easier. Stallone writes Paulie's dialogue. Here's Joe's voice. "You gonna make it. I don't know when, don't know how, but you gonna make it." In the movie, Paulie says to Rocky, "You got a shot, don't blow it. I got your back." Same energy, same loyalty, same refusal to quit on someone. Rocky premieres November 1976, becomes phenomenon, changes Stallone's life, makes him famous, makes him successful, makes him everything Joe said he'd become. 3 years after the premiere, 1979, Stallone goes back to Port Authority, not because he has to, because he wants to find Joe, wants to thank him, wants to tell him, "You were right, I made it, and I didn't forget you." Stallone spends 3 hours walking through Port Authority, looking at faces, asking homeless people if they know Joe, describing him: tall, black, gray beard, army jacket. Nobody knows, or nobody remembers, or Joe isn't there anymore. Finally, Stallone approaches a security guard, older guy, been working Port Authority for decades. Stallone describes Joe. The guard's face changes, recognition, then sadness. The guard says, "Joe, yeah, I knew Joe. Good guy, always helping people, always watching out for the new ones." Stallone's heart jumps. Where is he? Is he still around? The guard shakes his head. Joe died 6 months ago. Heart attack, right over there. He points to a bench, lower level, near the Greyhound gates, the same area where Joe watched Stallone sleep. The guard continues. Joe was homeless for years, but he wasn't a bad guy, just unlucky and kind, really kind. He used to brag about you, actually. Stallone's throat tightens. Brag about me. The guard says, yeah, when Rocky came out, Joe saw it, came back here, telling everyone, I know that guy, Sylvester Stallone. I watched his back one night, protected him, and now look at him. Movie star. He was proud, like you were his kid, or something. Used to tell people, I knew he was gonna make it. I told him, and he did. Stallone's eyes are wet. Can't speak. The guard says, Joe never asked you for nothing, did he? Never tried to contact you? Never tried to get money or favors? Stallone shakes his head. No, never saw him again. After that night. The guard nods. That was Joe. He helped because he wanted to help, not because he expected something back. That's rare, especially out here. Stallone asks, Did he have anything when he died? Any family? Anything? The guard says, no family came forward. City buried him. Potter's Field. But he had one thing in his pocket. Security found it when they went through his stuff. The guard reaches into his desk, pulls out a small evidence envelope, opens it, pulls out a piece of paper, crumpled, stained, worn from being folded and unfolded hundreds of times. It's a newspaper clipping. Rocky Review. From the New York Times. November 1976. With a photo of Stallone. The guard says, Joe carried this every day, showed it to people, told them his story, told them he helped you that night, told them he knew you were gonna make it. This piece of paper meant everything to him, gave him purpose, gave him something to be proud of when everything else was gone. Stallone takes the clipping, holds it, sees the creases, the wear, the evidence of Joe carrying it, treasuring it, making it his connection to something bigger than survival. Stallone can't hold it together, breaks down, right there in Port Authority. This homeless man, this stranger, this person Stallone spent 6 hours with 8 years ago. He carried Stallone's success like it was his own, never asked for anything, just believed, just stayed proud, just held on to. I got your back, brother, even when Stallone wasn't there to have his back in return. Stallone asks, where's he buried? The guard gives the location, Hart Island, Potter's Field, where the city buries people with no family, no money, no one to claim them. Stallone goes there, finds Joe's grave, unmarked, just a number, one of thousands. Stallone arranges for a proper headstone, pays for it himself, has it inscribed, Joey, I got your back, brother. 1923 to 1979. The man who inspired Paulie, never forgotten. Stallone also makes a donation, $50,000, to a homeless shelter in Joe's name, calls it the Joe Fund, designed to help homeless people get back on their feet. The thing Joe never got to do, the dream he carried but never achieved. At the headstone dedication, Stallone speaks, just him and a priest, nobody else. Private ceremony. Stallone says, Joe, I'm sorry I didn't find you sooner. Sorry I didn't get to thank you. Sorry you died alone. But I need you to know, you didn't just save my life that night at Port Authority. You saved my character. You gave me Paulie. You gave me the voice that says, I got your back, when everything's falling apart. Every time someone watches Rocky and sees Paulie believe in Rocky, that's you. That's your loyalty. Your heart. Your refusal to abandon someone just because they're down. You're not forgotten, Joe. You're in every frame of that movie. You're in every person who watches it and feels less alone. You're immortal, and I promise I'll keep passing it on. Like you asked, like Marcus asked you. The chain doesn't break. I got your back, brother. Even now, even here. I got your back. 40 years later, Stallone still tells the story in interviews, in speeches, in conversations with young actors who are struggling. He says, Paulie isn't fictional. Paulie is Joe, a homeless man at Port Authority who watched my back for 6 hours and asked for nothing, who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, who died carrying a newspaper clipping about my success like it was his own. That's Paulie. That's loyalty. That's what I got your back really means. And if you're lucky, if you're really lucky, you meet one Joe in your lifetime, one person who believes for no reason except they choose to believe. And if you meet that person, you honor them, you remember them, you turn them into art so they never die, so their kindness echoes forever. Joe died in 1979, but he's still alive. In Paulie, in Rocky, in every moment of loyalty, on screen, in every I got your back, brother, ever spoken, in the headstone, at Hart Island, in the fund that's helped hundreds of homeless people. Joe watched Stallone's back for 6 hours and became immortal. That's the power of kindness. That's the power of belief. That's what happens when you choose to help instead of harm, to build instead of destroy, to watch someone's back when they're too tired to watch their own. Port Authority, January 1973, 2 a.m., 2 men, 1 bench, 6 hours. That's all it took. That's all it ever takes. Who's watching your back right now? And whose back are you watching? Because somewhere, right now, someone needs a Joe, someone needs a Paulie, someone needs a here. I got your back, brother. Maybe that someone is you, and maybe, just maybe, 6 hours of kindness today becomes immortality tomorrow. That's what Joe taught. That's what Joe proved. I got your back, brother. The words that saved Sylvester Stallone. The words that created Paulie. The words that echo forever.